Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel and my review of Batwoman episode 6. 6-6. Like the mark of the beast. So we begin this episode with the assistant DA walking to his car. He's talking on the phone, all businesslike. But before he can actually reach his car, an electric pole just smashes it, just falls right down on it. Alright kids, buckle up for the most elaborate electrocution scene ever. Now the power lines that are connected to that pole are still live. For some reason, the transformer or the breakers didn't trip. And now we see the villain of this week's episode, Axeman. Not the body spray. He's got a big axe. Next, we see Axeman walk over to the fire hydrant located next to the car. He smacks it with his axe, and it just sprays water everywhere. Because that's how that works. So as the electrified water rushes towards our victim, he decides to run away from it in the direction of a metal chain link fence. Now, greeted with his obstacle, he doesn't just simply run the other direction. No, he decides to scale the metal chain link fence with the electrified water puddle headed his way. Have we spelled it out enough for you yet? So of course this moron can't make it over the top. The electrified water hits the fence and he dies. I mean, the thing is, water flows downhill. Why wouldn't you just run uphill or run to the left or right? I don't understand why he ran to a fence and then when he saw the fence, he decided to scale it instead of just running the other way. So now we're back at Crow headquarters and Dad is showing Kate all the information he was able to gather on the man that was holding Beth hostage. And thank goodness he's got all this information now instead of, 15 years ago when it would have been useful. And of course, Kate never misses an opportunity to make her dad feel horrible about not looking for Beth, even though he looked for Beth. This point is never going to make any sense to me. What in the world was this man supposed to do? Dad seemed to be pretty motivated to find his daughter. If only Beth would have, spoken. But I digress. During this argument, Dad says, "How many times do I have to say I'm sorry?" And Kate responds this way: "I don't know. How many times will it take to get Beth back?" What does that mean? Is this like the Wizard of Oz? If you click your heels 3 times, you go home? So if Dad says I'm sorry 4 more times, Beth's just going to walk in and everything's going to be fine? I mean, come on. Cut your dad some slack. Cut to everybody in the Crow headquarters watching TV where the reporters have magically, instantly, they are on the scene of the murder. And not only are they on the scene of the murder, but they actually have the security camera footage ready to go. Let me ask you this, okay? If you were in Gotham City, who would you call? The Crows? The police? Batwoman? Or the reporters, because the reporters are all over this. I mean, Kate doesn't even see her own bat symbol in the sky until she sees it on TV. Come on. Now, I did notice something pretty interesting about this report. Jack Napier is mentioned. More on that later. Now, it's also stated in this scene that the Gotham City Police Department didn't contact the Crows because this happened outside district lines. Whose district? And not only did they not call the Crows, but they shot the Batwoman signal in the air. Why? So far, Batwoman has done nothing but help capture Magpie. You remember, Magpie? Last episode she was on a field trip with Alice. So this week, Sophie tells Dad she wants to be assigned to the Batwoman case. It must be nice to just pick your own assignments. Cut to Alice's hideout where she's fabricating a face for Mouse. Yeah, a face. Now I'm pretty sure this is a real human face, which makes it really disturbing when she tries it on and sticks her tongue through the mouth. Yeah, it's as gross as it sounds. So Kate goes to Wayne Tower because she saw the Batwoman signal on the news. And by the way, the Batcave entrance is really inconvenient. Now, I know we don't want Vicky Vale walking into the Batcave, but why does she have to ride an elevator all the way to the top of the building just to get into the secret elevator that takes her all the way down to the basement? I would think that would really negatively affect her reaction time. So Luke and Kate have a conversation how the police commissioner really trusts Batwoman. Why? Batwoman hasn't done anything. It's at this moment that Luke recounts the tragic death of his father. It was during Luke's high school graduation party that his father left to go get more ice and was tragically murdered. And trust me, I was on the edge of my seat waiting for that Arnold Schwarzenegger Mr. Freeze cameo, but sadly we didn't get it. So now we have a couple scenes where we cut back and forth from the Batcave to the Crow headquarters. And we see that everyone is finding out all the information at exactly the same time. And they also both received the same tip from the GCPD dispatch. So Batwoman suits up and Dad says, "I don't care if this is out of our district. We're going to make the people of Gotham feel safe again." But aren't you private contractors? If this is happening outside some sort of predetermined district, wouldn't you be committing a crime? But wouldn't that mean that the cops would have to arrest you? But then you're there doing the job of the cops? So what does the police department do, actually? So they all follow the tip to an abandoned warehouse because that's where everything happens, an abandoned warehouse. Now, once we're on scene, we find out that Axeman is inside, he's got hostages, and he's demanding a certain police officer come in to negotiate. Next, we see Batwoman in the warehouse, but Sophie sneaks up on her. But the Crows show up to the warehouse before Batwoman does. So, I mean, what purpose does she serve? She's getting upstaged in her own show. So then we hear loud screams. Everyone rushes in, including the policeman that was outside, getting ready to come in to negotiate. So once Batwoman and Sophie get to the source of the screams, they find that it's really just a recording and there's no hostages there at all. But a trap is triggered and guns begin to fire automatically, shooting Sophie and killing the cop. So Batwoman reassures Sophie that she's going to get her some help, and Sophie says, "Thanks, Kate." Sophie knows Kate is Batwoman. Oh no, wait a minute. Didn't you already guess this in episode 1? So Batwoman doesn't even bother to check on the cop and just takes Sophie to Mary's clinic. And with Sophie unconscious on the bed, Batwoman looks at Mary and says, "Can you fix her?" Okay, she's not a broken toaster. Why don't you just say, "Hey, Sophie's been shot. Can you help her?" So now we cut to Mouse, who's wearing a fake face to infiltrate Stepmom's secret lab. So once he fools the facial recognition lock that's on the door, he's able to gain access to the MacGuffin room. And in the MacGuffin room, we find the MacGuffin gun. And we find out with some short dialogue with Stepmom, this gun can penetrate the Batsuit. Wait, did we just do this? I mean, in episode 3, we had the railgun. We actually had 2 railguns. One was a prototype that was stolen, and there was another one that was just hanging out in the Batcave. So we're only 6 episodes in, and we're already recycling story points. So now we're back to the Batcave, and Kate is telling Luke that Sophie knows I'm Batwoman. Duh. So Kate, using her detective skills, deduces that Axeman is actually Executioner, and he's using different forms of capital punishment to kill his victims. We have electrocution, we have firing squad, and the gas chamber is next on the list. Now, it's during this conversation that Cobblepot is actually mentioned as a former mayor of Gotham City. So you take that little nugget of information, and then you couple that with Jack Napier, which is the name of the man who would become Joker in the original 1989 Batman movie. So, are we in the Burtonverse? So does that mean that the Batman in this universe is actually the Michael Keaton Batman from the Burton movies? I don't know whether to be excited or disgusted. So apparently hydrogen cyanide pellets are what's used to kill someone in a gas chamber. And there's only one place in Gotham that has them, another poorly guarded warehouse. So Batwoman goes to the warehouse and asks one of the guards if he's seen anything suspicious. And of course he's starstruck because this is Batwoman, the great savior of Gotham, for the last 2 weeks. So he grabs his phone to take a picture of her and she hits it with the Batarang. Which is weird because in episode 4 she was taking selfies with the guy at the post office. So she asks him a few questions, he doesn't know anything, he flirts with her, she disappears in the night. But as she's walking past a garage door, a truck slams through the door, hits her, and throws her little body all the way across the warehouse. Now this is a full-size truck with an off-road bumper hauling ass. So then the executioner gets out of the truck, goes to a locked portion of the warehouse, breaks in, and gets the cyanide pellets. So then he gets back in his truck, begins to back away, but not before Batwoman regains consciousness long enough to look at the truck and say, "He's getting away." Now, to this point, I thought that Luke was going to have to come rescue her because she's going to have broken legs, she's going to be mangled, she's going to have to maybe get in a robotic bat suit just to be able to walk again. But no, we cut back to the Batcave where she just got a little ice pack on her ribs. Like that's no big deal. And now we get to the ultimate stupidity of this episode. So Luke asks her if she was able to remember the license plate number. Of course, she says no. But luckily, Luke remembers that the bat suit is so hypersensitive because of nanotechnology or whatever that it can take data from impacts and then transfer that into an image. So get this, he's able to take the impression of the license plate that hit her from the batsuit. I mean, it's just insane. It's like, the batsuit, it's like they gotta have a new batsuit gimmick every week. This is so asinine. So he does this magic, okay? And he's able to get a partial on the license plate. Just a partial, not all the letters, just a partial. But from that information, he's able to find the guy who happens to just have the car registered in his name. If you're driving around with an executioner's hood on and a giant axe, why wouldn't you just pop the plates off your truck, before you go do your murdering? Meanwhile, we see Sophie wakes up to find herself handcuffed to the bed. So there's your bondage moment in this episode. So because Batwoman has suffered no major injuries from the high-speed impact of the murder truck, she breaks into Executioner's nicely furnished apartment. And not only does she find the canister that held the hydrogen cyanide pellets, the bad guy has left us a confession on a thumb drive. How convenient. And now this is where it gets icky. We found out that the bad guy is actually the executioner from Blackgate. And according to him, every person that he executed was black or brown and also innocent. He says not once did he ever execute a rich white guy. Okay. So this goes way beyond racial profiling. We're not just locking people up based on their color, but we're actually killing them because of their color. And for the remainder of the episode, there's no real reason why this is done, other than to, I guess, solve a case. We also find out that the two people that were murdered were the assistant district attorney and one of the investigators that were planning evidence and convicting people, evidently innocent people. And the last one on the list is a judge who issued all the convictions. Now, if you want to say this is going on in your fake Gotham City, fine, knock yourself out. But as some kind of social commentary, this is extremely irresponsible. Now, Luke doesn't want to believe that the DA is corrupt because one of the unintended consequences would be that his father's killer would actually go free. So, thanks for the plot point, Dark Knight. You know, at this point, this TV show is just ripping off better movies to try to save itself. So now it's at this point in the episode where we see that the wrongly accused man that escaped from prison earlier in the episode is now recaptured, and the Crows are handing him over to the Gotham City Police Department. But before they can make the exchange, Batwoman shoots her magic lasso grappling hook and pulls him out of the scene. Luckily, the 50-foot high-speed recoil doesn't kill him, thank God. And Batwoman makes sure that Dad gets the confession by taping the USB thumb drive to a batarang and throwing it at his head. You know, I'm really not sure why she gave her dad the confession. Why don't you just give that to the cops? But then you start to wonder, what is it that the police do? So Science Man hostage beats her at checkers, and Mouse tricks Alice into revealing that Kate is actually Batwoman. So now he knows that Kate is Batwoman. So just to sum up, Sophie, Alice, and Mouse all know that Kate is Batwoman. And it's episode 6. And it's after this revelation that Mouse shoots Science hostage guy with the MacGuffin gun. And during another radio voiceover, Rachel Maddow tells us that she plays Batwoman Bingo. So now we see Kate back at Crow headquarters, and for those of you who keep track at home, this is her second leather jacket of the episode. That's right. It's her second leather jacket this episode. But then we see Dad giving us a little bit of woke when he calls the executioner an SJW. But in this episode, the SJW is correct. So that's a little on the nose there, scriptwriters. And of course, they have another argument where Kate says that Beth has become Alice because they quit looking for her. And it has nothing to do with the murdering psychopath that held her captive for all those years. And once again, she slams her dad because she says that she looked for Beth when it was hard and that Dad just gave up and started blaming Batman. Okay. So then we come back to Mary's discount clinic where we see that Sophie is escaping from the worst hospital bed ever. I mean, literally, the bar that she was handcuffed to just sort of pulls apart. It's like it wasn't even bolted. So then Batwoman goes to the courthouse, and the judge is there, and he's burning incriminating evidence because he's evil man. No motivations given whatsoever why he does this. He's just evil white guy. So now the executioner shows up and begins to fight Batwoman. And this scene perfectly illustrates the problem I have with Ruby Rose playing Batwoman. I mean, she does absolutely no damage whatsoever to this guy. He just picks her up and throws her around like a rag doll. So he's got her on the ground, he takes the axe, he's about to kill her, and luckily her dad shows up and shoots him in the back. So Dad tries to arrest her, they throw a few punches, and then they realize that the executioner actually has a dead man trigger. And the dead man trigger triggers the gas in the room. So the gas is filling the room, all the doors and windows are covered by magic metal doors that have just showed up from nowhere. And it's at this point that Batwoman uses her superhero ability to ask Luke what to do. So his only idea is to wait for the hydrogen levels in the room to get up to 6% so that she can ignite it, which will vaporize the cyanide. So Batwoman and Dad are barely hanging on. When the room reaches 6% hydrogen, she takes an incendiary device, throws it in the air and ignites all the gas in the room. Luckily, it does no damage to her or anything else in the room. So of course, that very night, the wrong guy is exonerated of all the charges, everything comes out, and all the cases are being thrown out. That night. And we know it's that night because Batwoman goes to Mary's discount clinic and finds that Sophie's gone. And the last scene is Kate forgiving her dad in a little tearful scene that was actually kind of nice. And we see Mouse and Alice hugging it out, and they still have the MacGuffin gun. So what do we learn in this episode? Well, Batwoman is completely useless, MacGuffin guns abound, and explosions hurt no one. Anyway, y'all, that's my review of episode 6. Let me know down in the comments section, what do you think about the episode? Hit like if you liked the video, subscribe if you liked the content. Y'all have a blessed day, and I will see you next time.